Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 89, coming from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you get your podcasts and videos on YouTube. We have one hell of a show today. We will talk a little bit about some MMA news, recap the massive UFC 313 pay-per-view, and preview this weekend's Apex card. A little bit of a lackluster card post pay-per-view with the classic new UFC schedule, but we're hanging in there and we're going to enjoy it. So, pulling up some stuff because we're going to go over some PFL announcements as well. Bear with me here for a second. But yeah, it's Wednesday afternoon here in the Valley. Beautiful weather. Get some cooler days with some rain. The past week, I got to go snowboarding up in the mountains to hit like 2 feet of fresh powder in Flagstaff. I was able to be in the pool with my family the week before, catch some spring training in like 80-degree weather. And I have a friend coming to visit, my good friend from Wyoming here soon as well. So life's good here in the Valley. Pretty wild to think. Again, I was in 70, 80-degree weather. It went down to 50 degrees, rained here at my house, and dumped in the mountains. And got to go shred some POW. Quite the life here in the Valley. That desert life, getting the full aspect of it. But yeah, this week I am heading to Disneyland with my girlfriend and my family. First time I've gone there since I was 10 years old, so that should be a good time. So plenty to look forward to, as I will not be watching this card live, but I'll watch it, the recap on ESPN+. But let's talk about a few fights that have been announced, not a lot since last week, as Dana White was making breaking news 2 weeks ago on his Instagram Lives. But we have Jamal Emmers and Gabriel Miranda, March 29th. Pretty quick turnaround for both men here in a violent scrap. We have Modestas Bukauskas taking on Ion Kutalaba on UFC 315. And then the Curtis Blades Rizvan Kuniev fight moved to May 17th. That's the Qatar fight night, as Curtis Blades had to pull out of his fight this weekend due to an illness that had been spreading in the UFC Apex. I didn't have this on the calendar. I missed that they had the Fight Pass Invitational 10 on UFC Fight Pass. Not a lot of huge names, but the main event was a huge upset bout as Victor Hugo submits Nicky Rodriguez via rear naked choke in overtime. Was able to kind of get Nicky to the side, swam around to the back and sinked in a choke. Beautiful display by the very good Victor Hugo. First time we've seen Nicky Rodriguez lose, let alone to lose to submission in quite some time. Gordon Ryan was having some fun with that. We had Renato Canuto defeating Oliver Taza by points in overtime. And Ronaldo Jr. defeats Felipe Costa in overtime by points as well. So some fun Fight Pass Invitational action. Fight Pass Invitational 11 should be coming soon, so we'll recap that as we get towards the summer. A lot more action besides UFC between Fight Pass and now the PFL finally announcing their locations and brackets. Was hoping maybe they would throw an event near where I live so I could go catch an event. And was hoping that we would see some sweet brackets. Well, they aren't near me, so not going to be able to catch an event, and I am not very excited about the brackets. The PFL continues to underwhelm, but they will have the first round in Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida, the semifinals in Nashville, Wichita, Kansas, and Chicago, and then the championships yet to be announced. And they also announced a Europe Belfast card headlined by Paul Hughes. So we're not getting the Umar rematch. So yeah, lots to be determined and sought after here in the PFL. We have in the welterweight bracket, Jason Jackson taking on Andrei Korshkov. Makhmud Burkamov taking on Florim Zendali. Logan Storley, Magomed Umolatov. Giannis Bachar, Masayuki Kikuri. I really don't give a shit about any of these. I'd assume it's going to be Amulatov and Jason Jackson going to the championship. A lot of the big name Bellator fighters that have since gone to the PFL not involved. Even in the bantamweight division, Magomedov is taking on Leandro Higo. Savarjan Kamidov is taking on Jake Hadley, ex-UFC fighter. See how Jake Hadley can do. Kieran Clark taking on Kasum Kasumov. And then Ali Talib taking on Zabenzui Ruiz. Again, really could care less. They have a lot of talent in the bantamweight division, not in the tournament. In the featherweight, we get Jesus Pinedo, Adam Borix, Gabriel Braga taking on Vez Landu, Jeremy Kennedy taking on Movlid Kabuliov, and Nathan Kelly taking on Takyun Kim. I mean, half of these dudes I don't even know, but I would assume Pinedo probably wins. He won the $1 million tournament this past year. In women's flyweight, Talia Santos, Juliana Velasquez, Kana Watanabe taking on Jenna Bishop. We have Liz Carmouche and Ilara Joan, and Alora Dana taking on Diana Avaragova. So see if Talia Santos could win that. Dudakova's not there. Impa Kasaganai in the middleweight taking on Fabian Edwards. That's a fun bout. Josh Silveira, Mike Shipman, Sadabusi taking on Dalton Rosta. Aaron Jeffrey fighting Murad Ramazanov. I mean, the Impa Fabian is probably one of the better fights, but I'm not even looking forward to how these would play out, looking at fun championships here. In the lightweight bracket, probably the best bracket, Alexander Shabley taking on Brett Primus to start. Clay Collard taking on Alfie Davis. Godzi Rabadanov taking on Mark DeCasey, ex-UFC fighter. Mads Burnell taking on J.J. Wilson. So interesting to see Clay Collard, potentially Mark DeCasey in the lightweight bracket. In the light heavyweight, Phil Davis taking on Rob Wilkinson. Sullivan Cauley taking on Marcelo Nunez. Antonio Carlos Jr. taking on Carl Moore. And then Carl Albrechtskin taking on Simone Powell. So again, nothing jumps off the page. In the heavyweight division, Valentin Moldavsky, Sergey Bilasteny, Alexander Romanov, ex-UFC fighter, taking on Tim Johnson. Puya Ramini taking on Abraham Bobley. And then Linton Vassell taking on Oleg Popov. A potential for Alexander Romanov to leave the UFC and get a payout in the PFL. How much is the PFL Tournament 2025 payout? And there's not $1 million tournament anymore. The PFL World Tournament will pay out winners for $500,000 bonus for every winner. So they've cut that in half. So you can't even be a millionaire from these winners anymore. Then they've showed the actual cards with the matchups. And again, none of these matchups I really care to see. I probably won't be watching these. So yeah, pretty bummed about that. No Vadim Nepkov, none of their good names. I mean, who knows what the hell is happening with the PFL. I feel like they are absolutely dropping the ball. And yeah, all you could really hope for is a Nurmagomedov-Paul Hughes rematch. I'm looking to see if I could find the announcement of the Paul Hughes card. I think they just said he's the headliner. And I don't think they announced the actual card. Yeah, so Paul Hughes, PFL Belfast, May 10th at the SSE Arena. That's all we know. So, yeah. Pretty lackluster. See if the GFL that starts here soon can take some headlines, as they've already had some issues and older fighter injuries. Yeah, not looking good for other promotions. But enough about that. Let's talk UFC 313. I feel like once a quarter, a hyped up pay-per-view card just kicks my ass when it comes to the picks. That happened this weekend. I went 3-6 in my picks. Worst card of the year. Overall, I'm at 539 wins, 266 losses, 8 no contests or draws. On the year, still doubled up, 55 wins, 25 losses, 1 no contest or draw. To recap this card, I do feel some of the matchups under-delivered. Obviously, we had 2 fights canceled with Blades and Kaniev, and then Chris Gutierrez and John Castaneda. Due to a sickness outbreak, it seems like a flu or something has been going around at the UFC PI, which they've been in Vegas for cards the past 3 weeks. So it was a lot to overcome heading into the night. I did think the prelims were solid. I figured the main card was a little bit of a hit and miss. Some of the matchups underperforming. But the main event was a letdown, kind of a weird situation with Alex Pereira. I don't know. The people's main event, Fiziev Gaethje obviously delivered. So for some of those performances, I am recapping the card a 6 out of 10, but I previewed it a 5 out of 10. Let's kick this off. Also, on the evening, Robbie Lawler inducted to the UFC Hall of Fame. Well-deserved to Misty Ruthless Robbie Lawler. What a stud. So many good fights. I think I got to see him in person one time. Let's look. I mean, literally a dog, absolute dog. One of the main guys in the UFC that just earned it. Yeah, I saw him lose to Brian Barberena in Las Vegas for UFC 276 back in 2022. But man, what a career by Robbie Lawler. Fought all the best. Tyron Woodley, Nick Diaz, Ben Askren, RDA, Carlos Condit, Rory McDonald, Johnny Hendricks, Matt Brown, Jake Ellenberger, Josh Koscheck, Lorenz Larkin, Tim Kennedy, Ronaldo Souza. So many absolute dudes, and then fought in Strikeforce prior to the UFC. So one hell of a career. And then a good fight we did not break down. The opening fight, setting the fucking stage. Ozzy Diaz, although via decision, unanimous decision win over Jordan Santos. Although it went to decision, this was 15 minutes of complete rock'em sock'em robots. Jordan Santos piecing up Ozzy Diaz early, kind of emptied the take. Ozzy put on a good show in rounds 2 and 3. But although Jordan was taking so much damage, he just was like a zombie continuing to get forward and throw some lackluster punches. But I enjoyed the fight. But we're going to kick it off in the prelims where Myron Santos got a split decision victory over Francis Marshall. And I had picked Francis. He was a good underdog pick for me. I thought this was a robbery after watching it live Saturday evening. But watching back, it was actually a pretty close fight. Francis definitely should have won because Francis took it to Myron in round 1. He did so without having to be a wrestler and getting takedowns. He won the round with his striking. Although it was somewhat of a close round, Francis was really in control, was landing the cleaner, more damaging shots. And then he got knocked down Santos with about 40 seconds left in the round. They both landed some nice lower leg kicks early in the fight. But Francis had Santos rocked. Easy win for easy round for Francis. And then round 2, Santos was picking away at Francis slowly, and his jab was kind of bashing up the nose of Francis. He's all bloodied up. But Francis did get a takedown. He wasn't able to do very much with it because of the great movement on bottom from Santos. He kept his hips pivoting. He was moving, getting up to the cage, finding ways. He did not accept being taken down, so you have to give him credit there. And he even got up at the end of the round. I did give the round to Myron because Francis landed less strikes and less damage and did not do anything with the takedown. So I had it 1-1 going into round 3. And this is after watching it back live. I gave the round 2 to Francis. But round 3, Francis came out hot, just swinging big, pouring on the volume. Santos was trying to hang in there with his own strikes, and then started pressuring Marshall, putting him on his back foot. But Francis got another takedown with about 40 seconds left and would have seemingly sealed up the win with that, but they did not give him the victory. One judge had all 3 rounds to Francis, which is debatable, but definitely plausible. But the fact that he lost this fight is a damn shame. A dude that's came into the UFC, been a workhorse, fought big names, deserved that win. But Myron gets the decision. You can't let it go to the scorecards. Brutal decision there. Definitely another kind of kick to the balls with this card. But statistically, Myron landed 78 total strikes, 58 of them significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. And Francis landed 64 total strikes, 39 of them significant. He had 3 takedowns in 5 attempts and 2 minutes and 35 seconds of control time. So although he was successful at takedowns, not a ton of control time, and Myron did land more strikes throughout the fight in both total and significant. But Francis had the big moment in round 1, which was a surefire round victory for him with the knockdown. Myron extends his winning streak to 3. He's now 2-0 in the UFC. Francis starts a new losing streak and moves to 3-3 in the UFC, a tough break for him. Where do these young fighters go next? I would love to see Myron and Isaac Dolgarian. That's the fight to make. And for Francis, how about Miles Johns? There is a very deep division, not an easy fight to take. But man, Francis is deserving. He's been working his ass off. And then moving on, we had Carlos Leal with a round 1 knockout over Alex Morano. One of the fights I did get right, and I almost picked Morano. But sheesh. I mean, Carlos absolutely blitzed and ran through Alex. He was way too powerful, and his power just allowed him to continue to pressure and come forward. But Alex couldn't get him off of him. He tried. He was swinging back. He was countering. He was headhunting. But Carlos was relentless, like a shark hunting in the ocean with blood in the water. He just throws big, massive, powerful shots. And to do so, will eat shots on his way to go deliver them back. And he just turns the fight into his pace and style, which is pretty much a bar brawl. But Morano, who is a very good defensive striker, had no ability to push Carlos back, even when he was landing big shots and rocking Carlos. So he had to just resort to kind of circling, running, throw shots. He earned no respect. Carlos just ate him like it was just nothing. And Carlos is just absolutely one tough, durable dude and is just a massive guy for the division. He looked way bigger than Morano. Tough night in the octagon for Alex. He tried. You know, you look at it, it's like, what else could he have done? Leal was just too much. Statistically, Alex landed 41 total strikes, 40 of them significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. Carlos landed 81 total strikes, 79 of them significant. So Carlos starts a new winning streak and moves to 1-1 in the UFC. Alex extends his losing streak to 3. He's 2-4 since 2023. I would love to see Carlos Leal take on Neil Magny. I think that would be a fun fight. And for Alex, if he is still with the UFC, which I hope he is, how about Phil Rowe? Then we had Bruno Ferreira with a round 2 submission via triangle armbar over Armen Petrosyan. Another fight I got wrong. But much like Leal, Bruno started out very aggressive. He knew he had to close distance in this fight. He could not fight from kickboxing range because of Petrosyan's skill. And he just came forward and tried to close distance as best as he could. He even had 4 takedown attempts, which really isn't his forte. And although they weren't successful, he was able to use those to shoot in close range, get up to the clinch, fight in dirty boxing, and close that kickboxing distance. Then in round 2, Bruno kept it coming. He got a takedown early, and Armen was kind of tired from battling him off and striking him from distance. And he was able to fight through some of the body-on-body transitions and found a way to end up on top. But then when he was just trying to posture up top, Bruno locked in a beautiful sweep transition and linked in the triangle armbar. Really, in that situation, chose the submission over position, because if Armen was able to get out, he probably would have stayed on top, could have sealed the round. But beautiful, beautiful submission. Bruno is becoming a well-rounder, now showing the grappling, showing off in the jiu-jitsu. A massive win for Bruno. He had to be aggressive and close distance to win this fight. He came in with a brilliant game plan and just did what he had to do. And another brutal loss for a very skilled Petrosyan. Back to the drawing board for him. Statistically, Bruno landed 31 total strikes, 27 of them significant. He had 2 takedowns in 7 attempts, a submission attempt, and 1 minute and 12 seconds of control time. So although he wasn't super successful with takedowns, he kept them going, and that really was the difference in this fight. Armen landed 47 total strikes, 46 of them significant. So more on the volume, but it really didn't matter. So Bruno starts a new winning streak. He moves to 4-2 since 2023. Arman extends his losing streak to 3. He's 1-3 since 2024. Or 2023, excuse me. So I would love to give Bruno another kickboxing specialist. He could fight Shara Magomedov, who just fought Arman recently. And then for Arman, a scrap with Rodolfo Vieira should be in the store. Would love to see that one. And then in the prelim headliner, the young blood Joshua Van with the unanimous decision over Ray Suroria. What a performance by Joshua Van. I'm just so impressed with how quickly Joshua Van has become a well-rounded fighter. He's still so young. He fights 4+ times a year. It's really hard when you fight 4+ times a year. You have a 30-day training camp, maybe even 60 days, plus the weight cut. You don't get to focus on your craft at the gym. But he's finding a way to be in there every day and add to his game. He's a very boxy, heavy striker. But in this fight, he showed how well he could defend the takedowns against a very, very good wrestler in Ray. But not only defend the takedowns, man, he has a good knack for getting back up when he is taken down. And I was just really impressed. I was just like, man, this kid is going to be a problem. And that's why he's undefeated. Joshua showed that he could do enough to defend takedowns and get back up. And when the fight was on the feet, he was absolutely outclassing Ray Suroria. Ray, solid fighter, undefeated as well because of his grappling heavy ability. Really pushing hard on Joshua Van. Joshua is not undefeated. Ray is. But that's why Ray's undefeated is his grappling ability. And Joshua completely shut it down. Showed him there's levels to this game. I do think we'll see a lot from Ray. But hopefully he could grow and develop like Joshua has in a short amount of time. Super, super impressed with Joshua Van. Statistically, Joshua landed 127 total strikes, 59 of them significant. He had 50 seconds of control time. And Ray landed 47 total strikes, 32 of them significant. He had 4 takedowns, but in 21 attempts. I mean, he knew he was getting outclassed on the feet. He just kept going to the well, and Josh just kept shucking him away. And with those 4 takedowns, he had 3 minutes and 49 seconds of control time. So Joshua extends his winning streak to 3. He's 6-1 in the UFC since 2023. And Ray suffers his first pro loss, ends his 10-fight winning streak. He's 2-1 in the UFC. Now, I think Joshua and Ramazan Tamirov would be a ton of fun. Josh says he wants to get back and fight soon, which is pretty interesting to me. I think he could use some time in the gym. He's fought so much and done so much for his brand already. But to each their own, I think that would be a great stylistic battle. And for Ray, Jesus Aguilar should be next as he gets a bounce-back attempt. Then in the main card, Mauricio Ruffy stealing the show with a beautiful, beautiful potential knockout of the year early in the year. Round 1 knockout over King Green. Performance of the night, 50 Gs for Mauricio. And how about them fighting nerds? Each fighter undefeated and really making a run to the title. But King knew, man. He knew the danger that Ruffy presents because he was gun-shy, very cautious to start the fight. And that's not normal to what we're usually accustomed to seeing with King Green. Now, Mauricio was patient. You could see he was loading up, waiting for the chance. And boy, did he land one of the best knockouts of all time with a perfectly timed spinning wheel kick that caught Green right on the temple. And when it hit him, went straight down, face into the canvas, got the rash, and was just completely out, man. Completely shut him off. Just wow, brilliant technique. They showed videos of him training that, practicing that in the locker room as he was warming up. But the precision, the technique, Mauricio Ruffy showed why he has so much hype, and he has blown the door wide open. The hype train has begun. Statistically, King only landed 4 total insignificant strikes. The same for Mauricio, 4 total insignificant, but had the knockdown. So now Mauricio extends his winning streak to 7. He's 4-0 in the UFC, and King ends his 2-fight winning streak and is 3-1 since 2023. So Mauricio asked for Beneil Dariush in the post-fight interview. I believe that's actually the perfect fight to make, so I hope we can make that one happen. And for King, if he decides to fight again, Diego Fajeda would be the perfect dance partner for him in a veteran showdown. Then the clunker that didn't belong, we had Amanda Lemos with the unanimous decision over Yasmin Lucindo. And this is what my takeaway of this fight was. If you've ever competed in an individual sport or MMA or martial arts competition like kickboxing, judo, jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, there's times where young fighters fight veterans that they're familiar with. They maybe watched growing up, whatever the case has been, but they've been there, done that. And they can psych themselves out mentally and defeat themselves before the fight or their match starts. I believe that's exactly what happened to Lucindo, as she showed no fight or desire and just let Amanda do whatever she wanted way too easily. It just seemed like she wasn't there. Sometimes you go up into the match, you just black out. I felt like this was a blackout moment because Lucindo has shown how good of a striker she is and aggressive she can be, and we saw absolutely none of that here. And she got taken down over and over. When she did get taken down, she didn't look to fight off her back, and that's really what got her to the top of the division. Amanda was basically able to have a sparring session with Yasmin. It was way too easy. I mean, she only landed 12 significant strikes and got a sweeping victory. I mean, come on. I mean, this shit would put you to sleep. Really shut down the momentum of the card after that beautiful wheel kick. But then we had back-to-back violence to save it. But yeah, I was just shocked. I mean, statistically, Amanda only landed 30 total strikes, 12 of them significant. She had 3 takedowns and 5 attempts, 7 minutes and 58 seconds of control time, so a round and a half, and that's not her forte. But Yasmin just made it too easy. She's like, why not? I could come out of this fight undamaged. And Yasmin landed 40 total strikes, only 4 significant, with 1 takedown and 4 minutes and 4 seconds of control time. So 16 significant strikes by both ladies in 15 minutes. Yeah, that tells the story. So Amanda starts a new winning streak. She's 2-2 since 2023. She stays at 5 in the rankings. And Yasmin ends her 4-fight winning streak. She starts a new losing streak, and she moves down 1 spot in the rankings to number 8. Now, I personally would love to see Amanda Lemos fight Jessica Andrade. That should be good violence. They haven't fought yet. And for Yasmin, Angela Hill was very vocal on X about fraud checking Yasmin, and she's upset that she's higher than her in the rankings. That is the perfect fight to make. And then a fight that I'm not surprised went wrong for me and my picks, that I thought would be absolute violence. Turned out to be a pretty solid fight, but a lot of surprises here as Ignacio Bahamondes gets a round 1 submission via triangle choke over Jalen Turner. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Bahamondes. And as the fight lasted in round 1, man, it was a wild round as long as it was standing. 2 6-foot plus 155 pounders. Striking exchanges were violent. It was beautiful. But Jalen almost kind of found himself with an overswing from Ignacio, accidentally stuck into a takedown attempt that's like, all right, let's get an easy takedown. He got the easy takedown. And when trying to control Ignacio from the bottom, was just taking a shit ton of damage. Bahamondes was just boom, boom, elbows up the middle, really fucking Jalen's head up to the point where he had to kind of slouch in and cover his face. And when he was trying to cover up, Ignacio locked in a triangle that the tarantula could not get out of. That long, lengthy arms got caught in there. And it was really reminiscent to me of Kevin Holland beating up Ronaldo Souza from bottom. I mean, it was violent. And Jalen actually said after the fight that he wants to retire. He has actually made dues with that. You know, it's Wednesday this far in the week. He said, yep, I want to retire. I know I'm young. I know there's opportunity, but I'm just not into the fight game. I'm mentally not there. And to his credit, if you want to fight, you got to be mentally in there and believe that you could fuck anybody up. He has had a rough go. I do think he's talented. He's about to hit his prime. He's only 29 years old. So I really hope he doesn't retire. Ignacio has actually reached out and said you shouldn't retire. I know Bilal Muhammad, who was in his corner, was saying the same. So I hope that's not the case, but we will see. Statistically, Jalen only landed 11 total strikes, 7 of them significant. He had 1 minute and 43 seconds of control time. And Ignacio landed 17 total strikes, 10 of them significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts with a submission attempt. So Jalen extends his losing streak to 2. He's 1 4 since 2023. Ignacio extends his winning streak to 3. He's 4 1 since 2023. And he enters the top 15 at number 15. I've always liked what I've seen from Ignacio. I thought it was maybe Jalen's time hitting his prime. And he seemed confident in the embeddeds and things that I saw leading up to the fight. But clearly he's not all mentally in the fight game. I wish I would have known that before I picked him. But man, he's fought studs. Jalen has a killer's row. I hate to see him go out like that, but we'll see what the future holds here. What I would like to see next for Ignacio is an absolute violent matchup. Give me Ignacio Bahamondes and Benoit Saint-Denis. That's a guaranteed box office showdown. We all need to see that one. But talk about box office, the fight of the night, the co-main, we all knew it was coming. We had Justin Gaethje with a unanimous decision over Rafael Fiziev. Fight of the night, Mr. Bonus, Mr. Highlight. 50 G's for Justin Gaethje, man. And I picked Gaethje the first time. I probably should have put the short notice affair a little bit more weight into my decision here. But this was just absolutely bonkers. All credit to Rafael, who took this fight on 12 days' notice to keep Justin on the pay-per-view. I doubt Justin had many options. Round 1 was just, he was trying to find his timing, was trying to find his windows to strike, and allowed Fiziev to just make him look slow and sluggish, as Fiziev was really just picking Justin apart, even got some takedowns of his own, and I was like, if you would tell me that Fiziev would be attempting takedowns before Justin, that would make my jaw drop. But if Justin would look the way he did in round 1, I'm like, man, I really thought, I was like, this might be the downcoming of Justin's career. Because Fiziev had success wherever he wanted to take the fight in round 1. It looked like it was going to be a lopsided fight. And then round 2, everything completely changed. Justin fought like Justin Gaethje. I feel like Trevor got into his head and was like, hey, after round 1, you need to fight the Justin Gaethje way. Go make it dirty. Go in there. Don't let him tie clinch you. Throw some fucking uppercuts and be a dog. Because that's exactly what happened, and boy, did it work. I mean, Justin ate shots to come in and close distance with Fiziev, and instead of being clinched, was firing massive uppercuts as Fiziev, the shorter fighter, was trying to clinch. He's locked up here, leaves his chin wide open for those uppercuts, and he landed so many of those. Nice, beautiful short shots in close, body shots, and it was affecting Fiziev, because Fiziev put out a pretty good amount of output, was now starting to take damage. And let's not get it twisted. In round 2, Fiziev was landing nice big shots too. But Justin was doing more, which set us up for 1-1 going into round 3, winner take all. Then in round 3, Fiziev came out hot and just blitzed, bursted out a ton of shots and combos. He had Justin rocked, but somehow Justin was able to circle and regain himself and just walk into the fire. He just said, you know what? This is why I'm the highlight. Kill or be killed. That's the type of shit he was on. But he was able to come out on top when he was in close delivering blows, because about halfway through the final round, Fiziev was just gassed out, man. All the output, the shots that he delivered, not having a full fight camp, 12 days notice. I mean, I really wish he did have a full fight camp, but man, what a way for Justin to come out on top against a very technically skilled striker in an ugly firefight. And that's what Justin Gaethje's done his whole career. He's done this so many times, and that's why we love this dude. He's not the fastest, he's not the most powerful dude, but he is an absolute dog. And he will drag you into the fire, man. And that's exactly what Justin did here. You'll love to see it. Statistically, Justin landed 98 total strikes, 72 of them significant. He was 0 for 3 in takedowns, had a knockdown and 1 minute and 32 seconds of control time. And Rafael landed 81 total strikes, 68 of them significant. He had 2 takedowns and 40 seconds of control time. But Justin now starts a new winning streak. He's 3-1 since 2023. He stays at number 3 in the rankings. And Rafael extends his losing streak to 3, all since 2023. And his last win was in July of 2022 because he tore his knee. He stays at number 11, but there is rumblings that he may look to go to the featherweight division as a smaller fighter for the division. And the next for Gaethje, I just figure the strength of schedule that he has, Fiziev twice, Dustin Poirier, I think he deserves the title eliminator bout against Arman Tsarukyan because they have said that Arman needs to fight again after pulling out. And for Rafael, there isn't easy options in the rankings, but I would like to see him fight Mateusz Ronbecki. But if he moves to featherweight, that's a whole nother world of opportunity. One hell of a fight, man. And I thought, okay, good showing with Ignacio, good showing with the fight of the night. I can't wait for this main event. And boy, was I wrong. And the funny thing is probably, let's take out Alex's last fight. Any fight beforehand, if you would have said Magomed and Ankalaev and Alex Pereira, I'm picking Magomed. But Alex has been so dominant. He's found a way. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not picking against him again. And he finally suffers defeat as the champ. Magomed, Ankalaev, and New with a unanimous decision over Alex Pereira. And for me, honestly, I was shocked and surprised at how many people were like so confident and legit thought Alex won this fight. I mean, Alex hardly did anything. In round 1, he won a very razor-close round just from calf kicks. But when it comes to boxing and landing power shots, he didn't do any of that. And that's what he has made him special. And he didn't do that the whole night. Magomed was landing his own kicks early in round 1 as well, but I gave round 1 to Alex. But you do have to credit Magomed, who is a very legit, well-rounded fighter. He gets overlooked a lot. He had a great game plan, but something seemed really off with Pereira in this fight. He did not look himself, and maybe that really was the game plan of Magomed, but I feel like there was something else there that we're not sure of. Now, the reason I would have picked Magomed in previous years is because his grappling ability. I couldn't believe that Alex was able to defend all those takedowns round over round, 25 minutes of it, man. If you would have told me Magomed Ankalaev would defeat Alex Pereira without a takedown, my mind would be even more baffled. Like, what the actual fuck? But credit to Alex. I think he almost probably absorbed himself too much, and I have to defend takedowns, I have to stay up, that he didn't get to fight his own style. That was what was in his head. I think that may be more of what had happened here. But round 2, Magomed was pressuring. Alex was out boxing him and was landing beautiful combos. But at the end of the round, Magomed clipped Alex and almost finished him, but he was saved by the bell. So, very interesting situation. You're like, oh shit, what's going to happen in round 3? Obviously, Ankalaev wins that round. In round 3, Magomed landed big shots and picked away at Pereira, as Pereira was just like on defense. He was on his bike, circling around the cage, kind of running away from Ankalaev's pressure. Then it's the championship rounds. This is what it's about. You have to beat the champ to be the champ. Well, in round 4, Magomed pressured Alex and held him up against the cage with the clinch pretty much the entire round. And Pereira had no answer. He was definitely worn out and tired, and it seemed like maybe saving himself for round 5. But Magomed seemed like the much fresher fighter and was going up 3-1 in the scorecards. Well, in round 5, and round 4 wasn't pretty. A lot of people are knocking Magomed for doing that. But again, you have to beat the champ to be the champ, but the champ's got to do something. All those years, it seems like John Jones got the benefit of the doubt because he was the champ. You got to beat him in championship rounds. He put output out there and actually threw some shit. I can't remember the stats off my head, but Alex only landed let's see if ESPN will pull it up for me. I think it was 16 head strikes the entire fight. I mean, it was all leg kicks, man, and defense. Some crazy stuff. I would have never expected to see that. Let's see if I can find this. To the head, 36 strikes by Ankalaev, 11 by Alex Pereira. 48 to the legs, so he landed 48 leg kicks, only 11 to the head. In 25 minutes, no one would have expected that or saw that coming. That's just absolutely crazy talk. But anyways, going into round 5, Alex came out, man. He held his ground. He didn't let Magomed pressure him. He continued to pressure him. He wasn't going to get stocked down. And then midway through the round, Alex landed a nice head kick, clean on the mark. And Magomed, after that, was just kind of defensively fighting. He really wasn't going after it, wasn't trying to secure the win. And I don't know if that was because he was rocked or he was just being conservative. And one of the knocks on Magomed is he's been known to do that. He did that in the draw against Jan Blachowicz. And that's where a lot of his criticism comes from, because he doesn't go out there and be a dog and a killer and put on a show and try to find a highlight. But he did win rounds 2 through 4, no doubt. Round 1, debatable. And Alex really didn't do much besides the low kicks in round 1 and then the final strikes in round 5 that were his best moments. So super off night. Again, I think it's a mix of Alex worried about the takedown so much, Magomed's pressure, but I still think there's more to the story that may come out in a later date. Statistically, Alex landed 97 total strikes, 76 of them significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. Magomed landed 127 total, 94 significant. So he landed 30 more total, 18 more significant than Alex. And he was 0 for 12 in takedown attempts. Got to credit the former champ in the defense there. And he had 5 minutes and 42 seconds of control time, most of that in the clinch in round 4. So Magomed extends his winning streak to 12. He's 3-0-1 since 2023. Alex ends his 5-fight winning streak, starts a new losing streak, and he is now the number 1 contender. I think we all know there should be an automatic rematch because what Alex Pereira has done, he's earned it. Even Bruce Buffer announced him as the one, the only, joining the company and likes of Conor McGregor and John Jones. He deserved that. I do think we'll see a rematch. Sadly, again, this weekend, back to the Apex, UFC Fight Night Vegas 104. Hopefully we get a little bit better of a card. I wasn't completely upset with UFC 313. I just had high expectations. Some of the fights did deliver and saved it. I bought the ESPN Plus pay-per-view ahead of time. Glad I did, because I guess a bunch of people had issues, but then they played it for free later. I wish I could get refunded. That'll be very interesting to see if the UFC puts that in consideration of potentially moving, as they're going to have a new TV deal. But anyways, this weekend a little bit earlier of a card. The prelims at 1 p.m. Pacific. The main card at 4 p.m. Pacific, all on ESPN Plus. And I'm not going to be soft about this. To preview the card, the prelims are brutal. The main card has some solid veteran matchups, but I am not a fan of the UFC rebooking Marvin Vettori and Roman Dolidze as the main event. I'm previewing this a 3 out of 10. I'm glad that I don't need to watch it live at Disneyland. I could watch it later. A couple good fights that I will not break down. We have Contender Series alum Andre Lima taking on Daniel Perez, and Sungwoo Choi taking on Contender Series alum Kevin Vallejos. But let's kick it off. We got one prelim fight here. We have Waldo Salsa Boy Cortez Acosta, 33 years old with a 12-1 record, taking on Ryan Superman Spann, 33 years old with a 22-10 record. And this is a fun fight. It's an exciting fight between two hard-hitting heavyweights, both at the same age in the middle of their primes at 33. But Ryan definitely has a lot more UFC experience, and that's the big difference in this fight for me. Ryan has fought the best of the best. I do feel like he's evolved as a heavyweight, and I think he could take this fight a lot more places than Waldo can. Breaking it down, Waldo has a boxing style. He's a Bellator, LFA alum and former champion and Contender Series alum. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. He's 3-1 since 2023. And 5 of his 12 wins are via knockout. Now, Ryan trains out of Fortis MMA. He has a blue belt in BJJ. He's a Legacy FC, LFA, and Contender Series 2-time alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 1-3 since 2023. 13 of his 22 wins are via submission, 6 via knockout, so 19 of his 22 wins via finish, and 4 of his 10 losses are via knockout. He is rocking a 9-inch reach advantage. Now, Ryan can grapple. I think he will have the power advantage. Waldo might have the speed advantage, but I honestly can't envision him being able to outstrike Spann at this point in his career or have success taking him down. Ryan has taken UFC losses, but is a better fighter today because of it, and I do think he's leveled up. For that reason, I'm taking an underdog. I'm taking Ryan Spann. The dog's coming to eat. Hoo hoo. I will avoid this on the parlays where possible. Not that confident. Moving into the main card, a doozy we have here. We have DeMonster Blackshear, 30 years old with a 15-7-1 record, taking on Cody the Renegade Gibson, 37 years old with a 22-10 record. Now, this is actually a very fun fight. Both men are kind of in desperation to continue stacking up wins at this point in their career, especially Cody, who's in his second UFC stint, a little past his prime at 37. And this is Cody's stiffest test yet. It would be a massive win for him. Damon has been very impressive, but has faced very stiff competition from the get-go, and I do think that's helped him grow as a fighter, in my opinion. He's just now in his prime at 30 years old, so watch out. Breaking it down, Damon is a Cage Fury, Bellator, and Titan FC alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak. He's 2-3-1 since 2023, and 10 of his 15 wins are via submission. Now, Cody has a brown belt in BJJ. He's an Ultimate Fighter, Titan FC, LFA, and Eagle FC alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 2-2 since 2023. And 4 of his 10 losses are via submission. Now, both fighters are well-rounded, but at this stage in their careers, Blackshear is going to be more athletic, faster, and more powerful. I think he's going to have the striking advantage and will have Cody resort to attempt takedowns. Try to grapple, make this an ugly fight. I think if Damon does go there, it will be challenging for Cody to hold him down. And Damon does have a lot of submission threats from the bottom. For that reason, I'm taking Damon Blackshear. I am putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have another tough veteran alum. We have Alexander the Great Ape Hernandez, 32 years old with a 15-8 record, taking on Kurt the Hurt Holloway, 38 years old with a 22-8 record. Now, Alex Hernandez's UFC career has been all over the map. He's now looking to continue a run at lightweight, as he was fighting at featherweight. He won his last fight against fellow tough veteran alum in Austin Hubbard. So Kurt has had mixed results since winning tough, but he is a very tough and durable fighter that's going to drag Alexander into deep waters and try to get him to tire out. Breaking this down, Kurt is an orthodox fighter. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a Strikeforce, Titan FC alum, former champ and interim champ, Contender Series alum, XFC alum and former champ, and Tough alum, and this is his second UFC stint as he was 0-3 in his first run in the UFC. The guy's been around the block. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 2-1 in his UFC return. 10 of his 21 wins are via submission, 7 via knockout, so 17 of his 21 wins via finish. Now, Alexander trains out of Factory X. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's an RFA alum and LFA alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 6 of his 15 wins are via knockout. 3 of his 8 losses are via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Alexander is going to be the faster, more precise striker, but Kurt has a lot of Justin Gaethje-like fire spirit in him. He's just willing to be a dog and find a way, man. Whether it's dirty boxing, grappling, or finding a way to close distance, he pulls his opponents into that deep water, tries to suffocate them, and make it his style of a fight. With that being said, it's hard for me to pick against Alexander. Why? Well, he's in his prime. He's 6 years younger and is well tested. His time is now. He's got to find a way through it. He can't continue to tire out. He's changed divisions for that reason. I'm taking Alexander Hernandez. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Chidi Bang Bang Naquani, 36 years old with a 24-10 record, taking on Elizao Copawera Zaleski dos Santos, 38 years old with a 25-8-1 record. Now, this is another fun vet showdown between two well-rounded fighters who are really strikers first, but they do have solid grappling. Chidi's going to want to try and pick Elizao apart from distance, and Elizao is going to have to eat some shots to close distance to either get Chidi down or stay in his boxing range to throw those big, heavy, loopy combos he likes to throw. Breaking it down, Chidi is a Muay Thai style fighter. He's an orthodox fighter with a black belt in BJJ. He's been around as well. He's a King of the Cage, Ring of Fire, Legacy FC, RFA, Bellator, LFA, and Contender Series alum. Like, these are the fighters you want to interview. Like, tell me what it took to go through all that, still have a dream, still find a way, and get to the UFC. I mean, god damn, those guys are warriors. Like Leonidas, it's like 20 spears in them, they're still coming in. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 14 of his 24 wins are via knockout. 5 of his 10 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. And he does have a 7-inch reach advantage and a 4-inch leg reach advantage. Now, Elizao has a Muay Thai, BJJ, and Capoeira style. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a Jungle Fight alum and former champion with 1 successful title defense. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and has 2-1-1 since 2023. And 15 of his 25 wins are via knockout. Now, I think this is going to be a high-paced fight where Santos tries to pressure, but Chidi is going to be able to keep him at a distance with the jab, the teep kicks, the kicks. As long as he doesn't get too wild, I think he could win via decision just by picking him apart from distance or eventually get a knockout finish. Unless Elizao connects with a wild kick or spinning attack, I think he's going to have to get Naquani down to win, and I'm not betting on that. I'm taking another underdog. I'm taking Chidi Naquani, the dog's coming to eat. I actually am going to put him on that parlay. We're going to mark that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. The main event that I don't care for too much. But it's big for Marvin, the Italian Dream Vittori. 31 years old with a 19-7-1 record and the number 8 next to his name. Taking on Roman the Caucasian Dolidze. 36 years old with a 14-3 record and the number 11 next to his name. Now, the first fight that Marvin won via unanimous decision back in 2023 was mostly a kickboxing fight, as Roman only attempted 1 takedown and Marvin didn't attempt any, which was pretty damn surprising. Since then, Marvin's lost to Jared Cannonier, which was a 5-round fight. He's been nursing an injury, so hasn't fought since June of 23. And Roman has gone 2-1 since and is really fighting at a high level. Breaking it down, Marvin trains out of American Top Team. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, is 1-1 since 2023, and 9 of his 19 wins are via submission. Now, Roman is an orthodox fighter. He trains out of Extreme Couture. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 8 of his 14 wins are via knockout. Now, Roman is going to have to change his game plan this time. And Marvin, although this will be his first fight back from injury, should be confident. He won the first match, plus they used to train together at Extreme Couture, so they are very familiar with each other. it's going to be interesting to see what Marvin has been working on in the gym since he's been recovering. I wouldn't be surprised if he looks to wrestle this fight, as I believe that he will have the wrestling advantage, but Roman's going to have the jiu-jitsu advantage. Since Marvin now trains out of American Top Team, he has really utilized that lower leg kick, and that was really effective in the first fight. So I'd expect a good dose of those as well. But for me, it's just wild to think how long Marvin's been in the UFC. He's just now in his prime at 31 years old. I think that's the big difference. I think he's going to come in hungry, have some time off, be fresh. So I'm taking Marvin Vettori. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. But yeah, a 3 out of 10 fight night card. Next weekend, back to London for a banger of an early card. Top to bottom, it's solid. It's full of prospects and some very intriguing heavyweights fight in the main card. So thank goodness we get some quality carnage up in store for us here in the next coming weeks. And this one is headlined, I didn't put it on there, by Leon Edwards and Sean Brady. It was going to be Jack Della Maddalena, but he got the title fight for the injured Shavkat. So we get Leon Edwards, Sean Brady. That's episode 89. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.